G'day team, welcome back. I've had a project in mind for my CNC lathe since Christmas 2019. Now that the lathe is up and running, I can actually do it. I'm going to knock out a few very late Christmas presents for some friends. My mates Wes and Gilly are into DIY like myself, and Wes is particularly fond of woodworking. He watches Jimmy DeResta regularly and has mentioned wanting an ice pick as a general shop tool, so I'm going to make some. So the first thing I'm doing is just a little test piece just to make sure that the actual drill rod that I've bought fits into a drilled hole in the brass with an appropriate tolerance, so a bit of retaining compound to hold it in there. Barely fits in. Let's go take that over the vise and see if I can tap it home. So I've gone over the vise and I've just pushed this in here. You can see it, it's a nice fit. Yeah, it's reasonably solidly in there. I did the other end as well as an initial run, and then when I pushed it in, it actually broached its own way in there using the end of the drill rod, so I just had to knock the burr off that. And now it's a good fit. Anyway, a bit of extra retaining compound, and that'll stay in there with no problems whatsoever. This is so good, actually having somewhere that I can do stock preparation. Like, you don't understand. You really don't understand how good it is having this bench here. It's also my first project with the bench. Alright, we're just going to drill the hole now and then cut the taper. This is probably the part where it all goes wrong and I curse and cry and we start again, but you know, I've done the code, so let's just hit the button and see what happens. We've got the part turned around now. It's the last turning operation on this part. It's just to put a bit of a curve on the back edge, just so it's a bit nicer under hand and also just looks a little bit better. I'm not a very artsy guy, but you know what? I reckon that'll do. So this is the last turn part. It's drill rod. It's actually W4, so water hardened 4 steel, nominally 61 Rockwell C. It's from China though, so I wouldn't really put too much faith in those numbers. Let's see how my lathe goes. It's the first time ever turning something this hard. Oh, there was sparks. So the next part we're going to put on these Icepicks handles here is a little bit of a flare. It's a bit of a scroll work engraving. I can't do it by hand. I probably could give it a go, but I don't have that much time to invest in it. So I've done up a little design on CAD. Mind you, this design took me about 2 days and a couple of iterations. And then we're going to put it on 3 of the 6 sides of this hex here. So to hold these on my little CNC router, I just made this little jig out of a couple of pieces of wood. This face here has been machined square, this face here has been machined square, and then I'll use that to pick up the 0 points. The hex is 14.45 millimeters wide, so we'll find the center off the left edge there by dividing that dimension by 2. We've got these 2 little 3D printed cams here, just cam locks that just hold the whole thing square. This one currently isn't engaged because my drilling didn't work out too well, so I'll have to just replace it with this other 3D printed one that I have right here, just the next size up. I've got some positive and negatives out of that. First thing is it didn't take too long to run. It was only at 11 minutes worth of run time, so that's good. It didn't break, which is also good. It looks pretty decent, which is further good. However, it is not centered on the actual part itself, and I know why, and that's a massive oversight on my behalf. So essentially, what's happened is the part has pushed into the wood down here, but not at that end. So we have our engraving. So we have our engraving there. It looks decent. It's, good depth, but it is well cockeyed. Just need to fix that up. So it's just started to storm here, but that's the first one finished, properly finished. And I think it actually looks pretty good. So there's 3 of these being made, one for Wes, one for myself, one for Gilly. This one is going to be mine because it's going to have the screwed up side on that side. I'll have Gilly there, and I'll have me there, so at least got some symmetry on it. That'll prove all the tool paths, and then the other 2 of them will just say these guys' names on them. Awesome. The 3 of them are all complete now, and aside from that one initial one with the Wes that you saw before, the rest of them all worked out pretty well. I did work out during it was pretty sensitive to tool heights. There's a few times I had to recut them. I'm sure my neighbours loved my mill running for that long. It wasn't the most efficient tool path, but it worked. And it's all just done on F-Engrave, which is a free engraving software. So I'm pretty happy with that. I just need to give them a clean up now with some acetone, and then we can take them over and put them together. The biggest thing for the acetone is just inside this bore here, because this is where it's going to be bonded together for the actual ice picky stabby bit of the ice pick. Alright, different part of the house, different coloured gloves. You can see the test samples I did here originally when I was trying to get this engraving done. Different depths, different angles of bits and pieces. Carved Gilly's name into it if I could. I'm just going to give these rods a bit of a clean. They've all had the edges rounded over just on an abrasive disc. I tried it on the lathe and it was just too hard and didn't work. This is actually tool steel. And then we'll just tap them all together and it should be done. Using a bit of a Loctite bearing compound, also retaining compound. And what we're going to do is carefully align that and just tap it home. We'll see which one wins. Turns out this rod here is actually harder than my vice jaws, which means I can reef on it, and the rod's marking the vice jaws as opposed to the vice jaws marking the rod. So I'm not complaining. Bit of Loctite. Yeah, this is the super high strength adhesive. I probably went a bit overkill with it, but whatever. It's going to do its job. And this is most definitely a press fit. Sweet, I reckon that's done. So here we have it. We have 3 completed ice picks, complete with all the scroll work engraved on them, all assembled. They're not sharpened. 2 reasons. One, I tried to just round it in with a lathe, and you saw that before in the Chinesium steel one against the Chinesium carbide. And I think it'll be easy just to transport them, less likely to punch through the package or anything. They're not sharpened. That way Wes and Gilly can just sharpen them themselves. But they are there. I'm going to sharpen my own. I'm going to let it cure up for a little bit. And yeah, I think this is a pretty nice little gift. It's a pretty good rundown with my lathe. Gave me some good opportunities to try some different things. The only real negative is I've realised this is now for a left-hander, because if you look at it that way, you see the words the right way around, whereas when I hold things in my right hand, it's going to be upside down. So it's a little disappointing, but oh well. I still think it's a pretty cool project. I think it looks well. Oh, I'm not going to take up any more of your time. Like, thanks for tuning in and having a look. I hope you enjoyed this. It's a pretty simple little project, but I think it was a bit of fun. And as usual, if you like my videos, please consider subscribing. Anyway, have a nice day.